My sister tried to steal my inheritance, my fiancé, and my identity. My revenge cost her everything. I, 32 female, grew up in the shadow of my older sister, Amelia, 34 female. From the moment I was born, she was the golden child, the star, the one who could do no wrong. I was just there, the quiet, bookish younger sister who preferred the company of fictional characters to real people. My parents, bless their hearts, never explicitly said they loved her more, but their actions spoke volumes. Amelia got the best clothes, the newest gadgets, the full ride to an Ivy League. I got hammerdowns and a gentle pat on the head when I brought home a straight-A report card. It was a dynamic I accepted, one I learned to navigate with a quiet resentment that simmered beneath the surface. I figured that was just how life was. Some people were meant to shine, and some were meant to reflect that shine, albeit dimly. Our grandmother, however, saw things differently. Nana, God rest her soul, was a fiercely independent woman who had built her own small empire from the ground up, a chain of local bakeries that were renowned for their exquisite pastries and comforting atmosphere. She was sharp, witty, and had a knack for seeing through people's facades. She always treated me with a special warmth, a knowing look in her eyes that told me she understood the unspoken dynamics of our family. She encouraged my love for art and literature, buying me sketchbooks and classic novels, fostering a sense of self-worth that my parents, in their blind adoration of Amelia, often neglected. When Nana passed away 2 years ago, it hit me hard. She was my confidant, my biggest supporter. Her will, however, hit everyone harder. She had left me the majority of her estate, including the bakery chain, a substantial sum of money, and her beloved Victorian house. Amelia received a much smaller, though still generous, sum. My parents received nothing, having been well provided for during Nana's lifetime. The revelation sent shockwaves through our family. Amelia, predictably, was furious. She ranted and raved, claiming it was unfair, that she was the older sister, the more accomplished one, the one who deserved it more. My parents, surprisingly, were equally incensed, echoing Amelia's sentiments and even suggesting that I should do the right thing and split everything equally with my sister. That I, for the first time in my life, stood my ground. Nana made her wishes clear. I told them, my voice trembling but firm. I'm not splitting anything. This was met with icy glares and a thinly veiled threat that I was tearing the family apart. But I held firm. Nana had entrusted me with her legacy, and I wouldn't let her down. This is where my wonderful fiancé, David, 33 male, comes into the picture. We met in college, and he was everything Amelia wasn't: kind, empathetic, genuinely interested in my thoughts and feelings. He was my rock through Nana's passing and the subsequent family drama. He encouraged me to pursue my dreams, to take control of the bakeries, and to stand up for myself. We had been together for 8 years, and he proposed 6 months ago. We were planning a small, intimate wedding next spring, a celebration of our love and a fresh start away from the suffocating expectations of my family. Amelia, of course, hated David. She always found subtle ways to belittle him, to question his intentions, to imply he wasn't good enough for me. I brushed it off as her usual jealousy, but in hindsight, I should have seen the red flags. She had a history of trying to sabotage my relationships, a pattern I had attributed to sibling rivalry. Now, I see it for what it truly was: a deep-seated desire to control and undermine me. The bakery chain, while successful, needed some modernization. I decided to rebrand, refresh the menus, and launch an online presence. It was a daunting task, but I was determined to honor Nana's memory. I hired a small team, including a marketing specialist and a web designer. One evening, while working late at the main bakery, I received a frantic call from David. "Honey, you need to come home," he said, his voice tight with barely suppressed panic. "Something's wrong. Amelia's here." I raced home, my heart pounding with a nameless dread. When I arrived, the scene was bizarre. Amelia was sitting on our couch, looking perfectly at ease, sipping a glass of wine. David was pacing, his face pale and etched with confusion. "What's going on?" I demanded, looking from one to the other. Amelia smiled, a saccharine sweet expression that made my skin crawl. "Oh, darling, David and I were just having a lovely chat." David, however, interrupted, his voice strained. She came here claiming to be you. She said you sent her to pick up some documents for the wedding planning. She even had your old college ID." My blood ran cold. My old college ID. I kept it in a box of sentimental items, tucked away in the back of my closet. How did she get it? A terrifying thought began to form in my mind. What documents? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Amelia's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. Oh, just some things. Nothing important. But David was shaking his head. She was asking about the bank accounts, about the deed to the house, about the bakery's financial records. She said you needed them for some urgent reason. The pieces of the puzzle slammed into place with a sickening thud. This wasn't just sibling rivalry. This was something far more sinister. Amelia wasn't just trying to sabotage my relationship or undermine my success. She was trying to steal my entire life. I confronted her, my voice rising with a fury I hadn't known I possessed. What are you doing, Amelia? What is this all about? She dropped the sweet facade, her eyes flashing with a cold, calculating malice. You got everything, didn't you? Nana's money, her business, this house, even a man who actually loves you instead of just tolerating you. It's not fair. I deserve it more. I'm the older sister, the smart one, the one who always worked harder. Worked harder? I scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. You coasted through life on charm and manipulation, Amelia. You never worked a day in your life for anything meaningful. She stood up, her face contorted with rage. I'll show you. I'll show everyone. You think you're so smart, so special with your little bakeries and your pathetic art projects? I'll take it all. And then you'll see what it's like to have nothing. David, who had been listening in stunned silence, finally stepped forward, placing a protective arm around me. Get out, Amelia, he said, his voice dangerously low. Get out of our house and never come back. Amelia laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. Oh, David, you really think you're going to marry her? The pathetic little sister? Don't worry, I'll take good care of you. We can make a much better life together. And then, she actually tried to physically push me aside to reach him. That was the last straw. The simmering resentment, the years of feeling invisible, the recent betrayal, it all coalesced into a burning desire for retribution. I knew, in that moment, that I couldn't just let her get away with this. I had to fight back, not just for myself, but for Nana's legacy, for David, for the future I was trying to build. Over the next few days, David and I worked tirelessly. We changed all the locks on the house, froze our bank accounts, and contacted a lawyer specializing in identity theft and fraud. The lawyer advised us to gather as much evidence as possible. We installed security cameras around the house. I also started keeping a detailed log of every interaction with Amelia, every threatening message, every suspicious activity. The security cameras proved to be invaluable. Within a week, Amelia was caught on camera attempting to break into our house with a set of what looked like duplicate keys. When that failed, she tried to impersonate me at our bank, attempting to access my accounts. The bank, alerted by our lawyer, immediately flagged her attempts and refused her access. They even took a statement from her, which included her full, unrepentant rant about how she was me and deserved my money. The evidence mounted quickly. The true extent of her deception, however, was yet to be fully uncovered. One afternoon, as I was going through some old files for the bakeries, I stumbled upon a box of documents I hadn't seen before. They were old insurance papers, tax records, and a birth certificate for Amelia. But the birth certificate listed my mother's maiden name as her middle name, a name our mother rarely used. And the date of birth was exactly 1 year before the date my parents always celebrated Amelia's birthday. My heart pounded as I realized what this meant. Amelia was not just my older sister, she was my half-sister, and the age difference was greater than I had ever known. I confronted my parents, armed with the evidence. My mother, pale and trembling, finally confessed. Amelia was the product of a brief affair my mother had before she met my father. My father, out of love for my mother, had adopted Amelia and raised her as his own, choosing to keep the secret to protect my mother and avoid scandal. The golden child treatment, the favoritism, the endless indulgence, it was all born out of their guilt and fear that the truth would somehow come out. The revelation shattered what little respect I had left for my parents. They had lied to me my entire life, creating a foundation of deceit that had twisted our family dynamics beyond recognition. It also explained Amelia's deep-seated insecurity and her desperate need for validation. She knew, deep down, that she was living a lie, and that made her resent me even more for the genuine love and acceptance I received from Nana. Armed with this new information and a mountain of evidence of Amelia's attempted fraud and impersonation, our lawyer advised us to pursue criminal charges. It was a difficult decision, but I knew I couldn't back down. This wasn't just about money or property anymore. It was about protecting myself and David, and finally holding Amelia accountable for her actions. The police investigation was swift. With the security camera footage, the bank statements, and the evidence of Amelia's attempts to access my accounts and impersonate me, the case was open and shut. Amelia was arrested and charged with attempted fraud, identity theft, and harassment. The news spread like wildfire through our extended family and social circles. My parents were devastated, not by Amelia's actions, but by the public humiliation and the unraveling of their carefully constructed facade. They begged me to drop the charges, to think of the family. But I refused. "You created this mess," I told them, my voice devoid of emotion. "You enabled her, and now you have to live with the consequences." The court proceedings were agonizing. Amelia, defiant to the end, tried to paint herself as the victim, claiming I was mentally unstable and fabricating everything. But the evidence was overwhelming. David testified, eloquently and with unwavering support. My lawyer presented a meticulous case, detailing every attempt Amelia had made to steal my inheritance, my identity, and even my future with David. The judge, after reviewing all the evidence, handed down a severe sentence. Amelia was found guilty on all counts. She received a significant prison sentence and was ordered to pay substantial restitution, which included not only legal fees but also compensation for the emotional distress she had caused. The aftermath was surreal. My parents, reeling from the scandal and the public exposure of their secret, essentially disowned me. They couldn't face the truth, couldn't admit their complicity in creating the monster Amelia had become. I mourned the loss of the family I thought I had, but I also felt a profound sense of liberation. The constant pressure, the suffocating expectations, the silent judgment, it was all gone. David and I, however, emerged stronger than ever. The ordeal had tested our relationship, but it had also forged an unbreakable bond. We rescheduled our wedding, making it an even more intimate affair, surrounded by a handful of true friends and chosen family who had stood by us. We exchanged vows in Nana's beautiful garden, a place filled with love and happy memories. The bakeries are thriving. I've poured my heart and soul into them, expanding the menu, revamping the decor, and launching a successful online delivery service. Nana's legacy lives on, stronger and more vibrant than ever. I've found a new sense of purpose, a quiet confidence that comes from building something with my own hands, on my own terms. Occasionally, I hear whispers from the periphery of my old life, my parents' declining health, their social standing in tatters, the shame that still clung to them. I feel a pang of something akin to sadness, but it's fleeting. I made my choice, and I have no regrets. My life is finally my own. I have a loving husband, a successful business, and the peace of mind that comes from knowing I stood up for myself, even when it meant tearing apart the very fabric of my family. It was a painful journey, but ultimately, it was worth every single step. I learned that sometimes, the only way to build a truly happy future is to first dismantle the past, no matter how difficult or destructive that process may be. The silence of my estranged family is a small price to pay for the deafening roar of my own happiness. I am finally free.